Welcome to Founders and Friends podcast with Scott Orn at Kruze Consulting, and my very special guest is Blake Oliver from FloQast. Welcome, Blake.
Thanks, Scott. It's great to be here.
So Blake is like this is a nerdy compliment. You are like a celebrity in the cloud accounting world. You have an awesome newsletter list, which you should definitely give the URL for so everyone can subscribe to that. I read it every Sunday night. And you're in town in San Francisco, so I was hoping you could come by for the podcast, and you did. So thanks for coming by.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's great to visit you. I realize I haven't seen you since 2016 when we met at Expensicon, which was that conference that Expensify put on in was it Maui that we were at?
Yeah, that was awesome.
That was pretty great.
I looked a lot younger, and you looked younger. Now you're like a experienced pro. Now so tell your story, because you had this awesome career ramp coming out of undergrad, which I thought was really impressive.
Yeah. So I have a bit of an unusual background, as you know. I was not an accountant by training. In college, I majored in cello performance.
I forgot about that. That's awesome.
So I was a music major and graduated in 2007, and then of course the financial crisis hit. So it was actually a good thing in that it forced me to make some tough decisions. Like, did I really want to be a musician? And I had to figure that out very quickly. So I was freelancing in LA. I was trying to make a living as a freelance musician, and I was tutoring as a day job because I've always been good with numbers, and I think that's something that kind of goes with being a musician. So I'm tutoring SAT math and English, and the bookkeeper at our company quit one day, right? And I noticed he had a pretty good gig because he could come in whenever he wanted.
Oh, very flexible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he could work at night, and I figured, this is perfect. I'll have finally some steady income, and I talked my way into being the bookkeeper because in college I'd used QuickBooks to cut checks for my fraternity. So,
who knew the bad fraternity job would turn into a career? That's
exactly.
Awesome.
So I talked my way into that position, and I actually found I loved accounting. I loved the software aspect of it, right? Even though at that time I knew nothing about debits and credits.
Yeah.
So
Did you like the orderliness of it, or bringing order to chaos, or what was it that you liked?
Yeah, so we were just using QuickBooks basically as a check register at that time, and the company was not using any of the advanced features. And I figured out over about the course of a year, learning the software, that we could use billable items and the AP module, and we could automate a ton of this stuff that we were doing manually. We were still using paper for tracking most of these contractors that we owed money to and stuff. So that's how I got the bug. What I decided to do after that was go back to school for accounting, because I figured, okay, this is a great career path. I enjoy it. So I enrolled at UCLA Extension, started doing the accounting certificate, and I started freelancing, doing bookkeeping. While I was in school, it was 2011, and that is when cloud accounting started to hit mainstream, or not hit mainstream, but really just become feasible, right? Like QuickBooks Online stopped sucking, right?
I don't know if it stopped sucking at that point. There was a new entrant in the market, right?
Right. So Xero came to the U.S. and that put a lot of pressure on QuickBooks to improve their online product. Bill.com, hit mainstream. Expensify, HubDoc, all these apps, and I latched onto that really quickly. So I was basically in the right place at the right time.
People say that sometimes, but you saw the opportunity. If I remember talking to you correctly, first of all, Xero really pushed QuickBooks Online. And now QuickBooks Online is great, but at the time it wasn't very good. But didn't you capitalize on Xero? Weren't you the first Xero rep qualified person in California or something crazy like that?
I wish I was the first, period. I was the second bookkeeper to get certified.
That's crazy.
On Xero. Yeah, and the first guy was in New York. So I owned the West Coast.
So for context, Xero is a publicly traded $3 billion company now. They started out in New Zealand and then went to Australia and Asia and Europe. They kind of came to the U.S. market late. So it's be like saying 25 years ago you were the second person to ever use QuickBooks. You were as ground floor could be.
And that was awesome because I was listed on their website as an advisor, and I started getting tons and tons of clients. So that's when I started my company. We did online bookkeeping, and just rode that wave up. So I was fortunate to sell that in 2015. took some time off and took my CPA exams. So it was really nice to be able to do that and not be working.
Yes.
And then I joined Armanino.
That's right, yeah.
As a manager in their outsourced accounting team. And I wanted to get like real public accounting experience, so I knew what I was doing.
By the way, I have to say, I remember calling you because Vanessa and I had always talked, and because eventually someday we'll expand. We have like an office down in Santa Monica, but not a full-time team down there. And I remember being like, hey, Blake could be the guy for LA. Yeah, after meeting you at an expensive, and then I saw you change jobs. And I was like, "What?" I remember calling you out of the blue, being like, "What are you doing, dude? You didn't even call us. Like, what happened?"
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's I mean, we were small back then, so it's all good.
So, but hey, you never know what might happen in the future.
You never know.
Right?
This podcast,
Exactly. So I'm working in Armanino in the outsourced accounting team. And I started looking around for ways to manage the close that I was overseeing for clients. Nothing against Armanino. I loved working there. But honestly, I think this is the case at most firms. Like, there really wasn't a lot of process in place.
Yeah.
Like, we just had a lot of really talented people that could like manage stuff themselves. But we didn't have a really good system for organizing everything we were doing. So that's how I found FloQast.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And so did you bring that into Armanino?
I was demoing it. And there was a lot going on in the firm at the time. We went through 2 mergers while I was there.
Shit.
Like a lot of technology projects got sidelined.
Yeah.
But it kept sticking with me. Like, we need to do something. And then I had written a blog post about FloQast, because I was excited about it, and you mentioned I like to write, and so the consultant who eventually became the CMO said we need to get Blake working for us. So they headhunted me, and I'm very happy to have joined FloQast as of December.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And I'm a huge believer in that process that you're talking about. Like, Vanessa turns out to be incredibly talented at bringing process to chaos, and we always say, like, we have 160 startups. Startups are always chaotic. I mean, you had a bunch of startup clients, I think, too, and it's like they're always going in 20 different directions. They can't focus a lot of times. So by designing our processes correctly, we're able to it's like taming a wild Mustang,
Yep.
And I think fits in exactly what FloQast is doing at the close part of it, right? Like, you're actually documenting everything, and it's a cloud product, right? So everyone can see what everyone else is doing.
Yeah, so we are in a category called close management software, which is like a lot of people don't even know what that is, right? So the idea is that if you have an accounting team, say, 5 to 15 accountants, and it's mostly in-house accounting teams in mid-sized corporations that have this problem. It starts to get out of hand, right? Who's doing what? The controller doesn't know what's been closed, and our founder. One of our founders, Mike Whitmire, he came from that world at Cornerstone On Demand.
Oh, okay, so Cornerstone, that's a big one.
He was a senior accountant. I think he was hired with like 5 other Big 4 auditors who came in to fix Cornerstone's accounting so they could go public, right? So in advance of the IPO.
Which always happens at every late stage company.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they had like a year to get everything in order.
Yeah.
And
that always seems like one of the worst jobs to me, to be honest with you. Like, I don't know how much those people get paid, but it would talk about chaos.
Yeah. He speaks of it fondly now, but I think it's one of those things. It's like after you run a marathon, you speak fondly of it.
Exactly.
But not necessarily at the time.
Yeah.
So they went from like 5 people in the accounting team to 25, right, in the course of like a year or two.
And probably a ton of consultants, because a lot of times they bring in like stock option consultants, and you got to figure out all this stuff.
Yeah. So by the end of it, they didn't have a system for managing this stuff, and he was spending 4 hours a day in staff meetings where they were doing status updates. And he kept thinking to himself, why are we sitting around here each giving our little update on our little area that we manage, right? Like, he was the deferred revenue guy.
Yeah.
And he had to sit through a 4-hour meeting just so he could give his update.
Oh my God.
And so he said, we got to create software that allows us not to have to do that. So that's how FloQast was born.
Did he partner up with like a technical founder and get it going, or how was the company born?
He did. So Colin, who's the CTO, came from MySpace.
Oh, nice.
He's a former MySpace guy, and Mike talked him into starting this company. And
it doesn't sound like the most sexy topic for like a technologist, but actually a lot of times automating kind of manual processes is like the best use of tech. Best for software development folks. It's like actually is sexy, because they can tangibly see how wasteful it is and how it's not really working, and they like fixing things.
That's the amazing thing, right? Like, close management software for accountants to manage the close is not sexy.
Yeah.
But the result is tangible.
Yeah.
So we did a study
both in
last year.
financial and happiness, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like I'm sure the team is just like so happy after they've been using your software.
Yeah. So a big value proposition of using FloQast is your team doesn't have to stay late, right? They can go home. If they need to, they can work remotely on tasks. Our philosophy is you should be able to live life during the close and go on vacation and go see your daughter's soccer game and eat dinner with your family.
Yeah.
Like there's no reason why you shouldn't have a normal life as an accountant.
That's
right?
a really good catchphrase, because Vanessa, when Vanessa used to explain Bill.com, she'd say, I can pay your bills while I'm on vacation in Italy. And for some reason, the founders would just totally love that, and they could visualize themselves doing it while they're on vacation. And it sounds like the same thing here. That's a really good idea.
Yeah. So that's what we're all about. It's about. I personally think that about half the time in a typical office is wasted on email and meetings and administrative stuff. So let's organize all that stuff.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And so what happened after that? It's like they got the first couple customers, and then like did they bootstrap for a long time? Because you just raised a round, but was it a bootstrap company, or how did they get going?
There was an initial round of investment. We just raised a Series B last year for $25 million, and that was led by Insight.
Yeah.
And that is what has enabled a ton of expansion for us. So we're at 400 plus customers.
Wow.
And it's some really cool brand names like Zillow and Golden State Warriors.
Nice.
We also
season ticket holder here. Thank you.
Oh, awesome. Yeah.
So Steph Curry managed his workouts using FloQast, like the clothes.
We haven't quite expanded to that feature set yet, but we'll work on it.
Yeah.
We've also got the Lakers and some other. Ruckus Wireless has been a customer for a long time. So some really, really cool tech companies that are using FloQast.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And you said early on that it was really good for kind of internal accounting teams, but I mean, we kind of have the same problems here. Like, have you just not expanded into the kind of outsourced accountants, or is it what's unique about outsourced accountants that doesn't make it as tangible for them?
So I'm excited to join because up till now we have been having outsourced accountants using FloQast. So Temp CFO is actually a big customer of ours. But it's not been like a really large segment of most, like 90% of our customers are internal teams. But me coming from the outsourced accounting world, I obviously saw the benefit of using it for my customers.
Yeah.
So we're hoping that more CPAs will see the benefits.
You probably know a lot of the firms too, so you can do a quick phone. It's like your job isn't really sales probably, but you can just call someone. You could call me or call Vanessa.
Yeah,
and be
exactly.
Like, hey, can I present FloQast to you?
Yeah. So it's just like we just got Jody Padar signing, and she's like runs an outsourced accounting firm in Chicago, and she's a top 10 thought leader.
Wow.
So we're really excited about that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So and then. Do you actually get like any the emails from the accountants who've been using it for like 6 months and being like, oh, I can go home and have dinner, or I can go on vacation, or what's?
Oh yeah. I mean, that's what part of the reason I really wanted to join is because our net promoter score is just insanely high among the controllers that use our software.
Wow, that's awesome.
Like the chief accounting officer of Grubhub, Brant Kucharski, he's a huge fan of us.
That's got to be a beast, because there's so many transactions that are just passing through. So that's a hairy operation probably.
Yeah, and the reason I'm in town is because last night we had an IPO readiness event.
That's right. Yeah.
And we had Brant on a panel discussion. So we had Grubhub, JMP Securities, we had ARC Consulting, and our founder was there, and Brant told a great story about like the pressure you're under to close the books quickly. Just it hits you when you go public, right? Because all of a sudden, you may have closed the books in 10 or 15 days as a private company. Now you have to do that in 5 days, because there's all this other stuff that has to happen with SEC reporting and auditors and
if you're missing your numbers, you have to report it quickly, because you can't afford leaks, and you can't. And I think there's some actual laws that say you have to report it quickly, right? If you're missing by a material amount.
Yeah. So normally what happens is like your accounting team just suffers like massively during that time, and it's a huge adjustment. So we're trying to tell startups and companies that want to go public, implement close management software now, like as much as 2 or 3 years in advance of trying to go public, so that you've already got that down, and you
Yep.
don't have to worry about that.
Yep. How does like I always think of QuickBooks as like kind of the sun in the solar system, and Expensify and Bill.com and a lot of the other tools interact with QuickBooks or sync with QuickBooks. How does FloQast, like, do they have integration partners? Like, how does it work, or what are the big things that you're interoperable with?
Yeah, so this is super cool. So
Yeah.
we integrate with all the top ERPs.
Nice.
So if you're on NetSuite or Sage Intacct, we also have Oracle and SAP integrations. We can pull that trial balance information from the software directly. So we do that on a daily basis or on demand. And then we also tie out your Excel work papers. So you get to keep using Excel. That's what
Nice.
people love about this.
Nice.
So you put a little hashtag code in your Excel work papers that
Ah.
shows us where the output is. So then you've got all your Excel work papers stored in cloud storage, like Box or
Yeah.
Dropbox or whatnot. So we connect to the cloud storage.
Oh, sweet.
We have visibility into all your work papers because of that. And then we link up the output. So let's say you've got a deferred revenue schedule,
Yeah.
right? So we link up your amount for last month to your trial balance and display all of that in a report, basically.
That's really cool.
Right? A reconciliations page. And if anything doesn't match, that's where you can see.
Yeah.
And then
can you see it on a per person level, like everyone's different responsibilities and
Yeah.
where they are tracking to?
so all
This
of
is, by the way, this is the best podcast/sales call I've ever had.
Yeah.
Like this
So
is, I'm like dying to use this product.
Yeah,
now,
I'm
so.
selling FloQast right now to
Don't be,
Scott.
but it's awesome. Like keep going, keep going.
So all those checklist items. So maybe you're tracking checklist items in something like Asana or Basecamp
Yep,
if you're a
that's-
firm.
we use Basecamp.
Yeah. So now you're doing that in FloQast. And when it comes to reconciliations, we're actually linking up that task with the work paper.
So you can just click you go right to the box file.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
yeah,
brilliant.
and because we're integrated with document storage, all of those work papers, when the next month hits, we roll them forward. So we
Dude.
copy everything into a new folder in your like super organized folder structure that we're managing for you.
Yeah.
And then you just go and update that work paper by clicking the link in the task.
And you don't even have to leave FloQast. You're staying in it. It opens up the box
So
file.
it opens up
Yeah.
the file in
Yeah.
Excel, and then you make your changes, you save.
So
and
getting
it's
rid
there.
of duplicate files, or like sometimes we have box sync problems or things
Yep.
like that. So okay, that's
Yeah.
really exciting.
Yes,
That's,
you never.
That's actually you're describing our flow exactly, except we use Excel like a master MD&A Excel paper workbook.
And actually, that's what most firms are doing today.
Yeah.
Is they're using like a consolidated Excel workbook.
Yeah.
Right. So they've got like their first sheet is the trial balance, and then they reference all the balance sheet accounts to subsidiary
Yep.
ledgers. Right. So we're saying that works, but it doesn't really scale very well.
Yeah.
So let's use close management software.
Yeah. This makes tons of sense. This is so. After this, I will get a demo and make sure. See if we can-
Absolutely. Yeah. I'll hook you up.
What are the big things that you guys want to do next? Like you guys, it sounds like you built like a really good product. Is it getting into the outsourced accounting channel, or are there product features you guys are working on, or what's next for you guys?
Yeah, so personally, I'm very excited about getting more into the outsourced accounting channel.
Yeah.
So again, I'm gonna make sure you do that demo.
Well, it's a little bit like, and I think Bill.com, Expensify, QuickBooks, everyone understands this. Once we get our clients standardized on those services, they're never gonna leave. They're super sticky. So getting them in using FloQast would probably, even if a company outgrows us and brings someone internal, and a lot of times they bring someone internal, we still work with them like 6 months or a year because working up, reporting to them, but like they're likely to keep the service. So that's a lifetime value of the customer. That's like insane probably for you guys.
Absolutely. I mean, we have net negative churn. So, we have, first of all, our churn is super, super low.
Yeah.
And then more of our customers add on
Keep
additional
adding,
services.
yeah.
So that's exciting. So building the client accounting services channel, but also, expanding the feature set to continue to make life easier from a collaboration standpoint for controllers. And so one of the things we're working on is figuring out how can we go and request stuff from outside the accounting team.
Yep.
Right? So all of our checklists right now, they're designed for the accounting team, but in order to do your reconciliation for, I don't know, deferred revenue, you might need something from the sales team.
Totally.
Right? All the time.
Or the CEO in our case.
Yeah, or the CEO. I mean, just constantly asking for stuff.
Yeah.
So we're working on tools that will allow you to automate the request of information from anywhere.
That's pretty smart. We use a very simple one that we have every month for almost every one of our clients. Is a lot of our clients have offshore developers or whatever, so they're using TransferWise or PayPal or things like that to pay those folks. We're still telling them to upload the invoices in the bill.com, and then so we have the record of the invoice, right, in case we're ever audited or something like that. But we have to get those TransferWise PayPal statements every month, and that would be literally in Basecamp we have reminders to do that. Email the CEO to get the TransferWise thing. So you guys could automate that.
Yeah. So what if your software could automatically go make that request?
That
and
would
you didn't
be amazing.
have to do it.
Yeah.
That's one of the things we're working on.
That's a really good feature.
But,
yeah.
Yeah.
That's actually it's interesting too. My pain point is I always joke that half of what I do every day is making sure people are actually getting what they said they would do done. Mm-hmm. And so I'm the dude who's emailing the staff accountant being like, did you ask for the TransferWise stuff yet? Or did you do this or do that? So that the automation actually really makes my life, it not only does it make the staff accountant or controller's life easier, but it makes my life a lot easier too, because I don't have to think about it. I don't want to have to waste brain cycles on it.
So imagine instead of having to ask whether stuff has been done,
it just gets done.
You just log in to your FloQast's dashboard, and you can see in one glance, what tasks have been completed, what's late for each of your entities that you're managing. And who's on track and who's not. Right?
I love it.
You no longer have to ask.
The on track thing is huge too, because that's one of our other big issues. Is we're and we're not big. We're a 35, 40 person company, but from where we came from when I first met you, we've grown by 30 people. Went from 4 to 35. And so managing that additional complexity, because every time you add a person, it's not just a 1+1 complexity. There's exponential complexity. Yep. So I like what you're doing. This is really cool.
Yeah, and I'm a tech nerd.
Yeah.
I'm an organizational freak.
Yeah.
So for me, it's fun to figure out how do we get all of this information out of people's heads.
Yeah.
And into a system.
That's what we want to. Yeah.
Because that's scalable.
That's how we've scaled. Our processes are actually pretty good, but they're not this would actually take us to another level. This is really cool. Awesome. Wait, I want to talk about just some general accounting things, but before we go to that, where can people find FloQast? Tell them how to find FloQast, how to do a demo with you, how do they get a hold of you? Also tell them about your newsletter.
Absolutely.
Your newsletter is amazing.
Yeah, so if you're interested in learning more about close management software, go to FloQast.com. That's spelled FLOQAST. FloQast.com. You can book a demo right there. You can watch a video. An on-demand video. It's about 6 minutes, which you'll get to see my shining visage. I got selected to do.
You have a great smile. You'll be good. They'll be pleasantly surprised.
Yeah. So you can see what I look like if you're curious.
Yeah.
We've got some really cool resources there actually too. Even if you're not thinking about implementing software, you can head to our resources page, and we have some really popular reconciliation templates that we give away for free to people.
Nice. So
if you've sort of just been making up stuff as you go, those templates might not be the best.
Yeah.
So we've got some great ones that we give away there.
That's cool. Ours tend to be, whenever we hire a new senior person, they come in, they add 5 things that we're like, oh my God, I can't believe we didn't have that in our close, geez, but it's just the nature of the beast. That's how it always is.
And my newsletter, right?
Yes.
So the newsletter is called Cloud Accounting Weekly. So you can head to cloudaccountingweekly.com or also newsletter.flowcast.com.
It's really good. I really enjoy it.
Thank you.
I think I email you every couple, once a month, be like, that was a cool article or something like that.
Yeah, no, it makes me feel good.
Yeah. So keep, first of all, you're providing a service to the accounting world, so keep doing that. That's really cool. So a couple random topics. You just told me this, it blew my mind. Unemployment for accountants is what is it? What's the percentage?
So the latest number I've seen is from Robert Half,
yeah.
And they say that unemployment for accountants is now at 1.8% nationwide.
Oh my God.
So in a competitive market, it's probably closer to 0,
yeah.
Right? And that means if you're an accountant and you know what you're doing, you can probably just walk out the door and get a job at another company, right?
Yep.
Immediately. So this past week I've been traveling around. We did some road shows with the Ohio CPA Society, and I was asking these folks, out in Ohio, sort of a good middle America type place, are you having trouble finding accountants? And the vast majority are saying yes.
Wow.
So
that's interesting, because a lot of times I've heard of firms like in San Francisco or New York outsourcing or having a remote office in Ohio or another kind of Midwestern state, because you can actually find talent there.
Yeah.
But if they're not able to find talent, that's really tough.
So then the question is, what do we do about that, right? Like, how are we going to find and keep top talent in our accounting teams? And so that's another reason that I use to talk about implementing technology in your team, is that if you've got this technology, then you don't have to have people in the office 8 to 5 every day, right? They can work flexible hours. They can work remotely. You can bring in contractors or part-time workers. And I think people are going to have to do that. Managers are going to have to adapt.
Yeah. Well, also, I think, and a big part of when we're explaining why our clients should use QuickBooks, Expensify, Bill.com, maybe FloQast's pretty soon, now that I've heard the pitch. A lot of it is like, hey, this allows us to get rid of the dirty work that no accountant actually likes, and allows us to focus on the things that we can really add value for.
Exactly.
And I always say, and that saves you a lot of time and money. Like, we're able to hit a price point that was unthinkable 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And so the message not only resonates with the accountants, but it resonates with the end customer and the clients. I think it's a really good message.
Yeah. So my personal experience, I think, is a good one to talk about, right? So when I started out as a bookkeeper, I was keying in transactions into a desktop software. And within 5 years, I'd figured out how to automate 80% of that. And so instead of doing data entry, I was just overseeing these systems working around. And as you know from your experience, that's what allows you to offer this incredible service for a pretty decent price.
Absolutely.
And do it outsourced. So that was in the small business world, right? We're talking cash basis accounting, stuff like that. But I see the same exact trend is now starting to happen in mid-sized companies. So there's going to be this just total revolution of how accounting gets done in organizations that have more than 200 employees.
And it's really fun if you're the people riding the surfboard on top of the wave, which is really I don't know if I've ever told you a story, but I've told it a million times. But I remember Vanessa I used to work in venture capital. I was still working in venture capital 6 years ago when Vanessa first started Kruze Consulting, and she came home one day and she's like, I met this amazing cloud payroll company. It's called Zen Payroll, which later became Gusto. It's gonna allow me to run payroll. I'm gonna save out a couple hours every week. My clients are gonna save so much money. And it was instead of being an old school accountant who didn't want automation, Vanessa immediately recognized that it would actually make her more efficient, allow her to carry more customers, provide more value. So she was one of literally when you go to Gusto, they they won't stop talking about Vanessa, because she brought them their first 10 or 20 of their first customers. And being the people who recognize how things are going, this is why I'm so aggressive about wanting to hear FloQast's, is because it's wow, if we could cut 20% or 30% of our time on the close, that would be humongous for us and humongous for our clients.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the automation, make automation your friend, basically, is what we all need to do, especially with unemployment being so tight. If you can't hire enough people, then automate what you can.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that we could automate at least 20% of the work, but in a lot of teams, it could be as much as 50% or more.
That's amazing.
So, and we've done studies that show that this happens when companies implement close management software. So, and it's not just for tech companies, right? I was just down yesterday in San Jose talking to the controller of the San Jose Water Company, a utility, public
utility is using you guys.
They're using us.
Wow.
They are also.
That's the definition of usually slow mover. So if they're using you guys, that's incredible.
And they're actually 150 years old. They're one of their auditor. I think their auditor is Deloitte. They're one of their first clients ever, in 1932,
awesome.
right?
That's awesome.
So they have moved to closed management software. They are also implementing accounts payable automation, right? So something like Bill.com.
Yeah.
Right?
What are they using? Or
I actually don't remember. It's specialized for their process.
as we're getting more and more clients on NetSuite, there's this whole world of accounts payable software that we didn't really focus on, but now it's like right in there. That's why I was curious. Anyways,
They were also doing payroll in-house, and they moved to ADP's cloud service.
Yeah.
So like if a utility can do this, then I think anybody can.
Yeah, it's really exciting. And kudos to you for, I would say like you have such an interesting background because you were an accountant. You're entrepreneurial. You're an entrepreneur, first of all. You're just like Vanessa. Like you guys both started your companies pretty much around the same time. And then recognized the power of all this automation, did it. You ended up selling your company, and now you're joining a software company. I bet you if Vanessa, she's 33 years old, and there's no way we're selling Kruze Consulting. We have a long way to go, but like that would probably be the next thing she would do. She would join a software company or start a software company like Kruze Tax. Like I was dorking around showing Blake Kruze Tax, but like that's the natural progression. Like once you're in this industry and you see things changing so fast, you're like, we should do this too, or I should join a company that's automating something that's still really inefficient.
Yeah, no, I think you guys are in a great place to experiment with building your own tools because you're actually using them.
Yeah.
And one of the problems, or one of my main criticisms of, say, the accounting developer community is that you have a lot of apps that are built not by accountants.
Yeah.
And what drew me to FloQast is that we have CPAs and accountants in every single department in the company. And 2 of the founders are former Big Four auditors. Yeah. So like this is the right way to do it.
Yeah. And they're it's always so powerful when you're scratching your own itch, which it sounds like they do.
Yeah.
Well, dude, this has been awesome. Thank you for coming by. So maybe just give the quick FloQast pitch one more time. Tell them where they can find you. And it sounds like you have a 6-minute demo that they can just watch on their own online.
Yeah, head to FloQast.com, FLOQAST.
The Q will throw you off, so make sure. If you have any questions, type into Google.
And you watch the demo video or book a demo. You can email us at info@FloQast.com. You can visit my personal website at blakeoliver.com. And please feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. And I love talking to anybody in our industry, or our profession, I should say, who's interested in technology, because surprisingly few at this point, and a lot of opportunity for anyone who is.
And sign up for the newsletter. The newsletter is very, very good.
Oh, thanks, Scott.
Cool. I read you and a guy named Riley Brennan from Trucks every Sunday night. It's like I'm looking at Mac, who is the audiovisual expert here in the room as well, and Mac, I'm that dorky. That's what I do. Mac approves. All right, Blake, thank you so much. Check out FloQast, and thanks for coming by.
Thanks, Scott.
All right, cool.